When I'm listening to people, so many people want to tell me their old story. I used to be this, I used to do that, we were this. I want to know where you're going. What's the new story? What's the new character? Quit telling me about the old character and the old chapters and the old versions of you. Who's the new character? And at any time in our life, honestly, we walk out this door, we can decide to be a new character. We can literally step into a new role. We can be a little more confident, a little bit more bold, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more caring. Your former script is not your current one, but everyone keeps repeating the same script. And I'm just committed in my life. I struggle with this too, but I'm committed to thinking about the future, committed to thinking about the best version of me, not the current version.
I'm telling you that a new house doesn't make a new marriage. And if you think that when the clock strikes 12, you are magically going to be a new person, you're just going to be an old person in a new year. Because a new life comes from a new mind and a new way of looking at your life.
You can get defined easily by other people's perceptions of you. My whole life, I was convinced, when I was a young man, I was convinced I was a loser. Absolutely convinced. Until I started getting really good at martial arts, I never thought I was good at anything. I just had a very low self-esteem. And I was limiting myself by what I thought were other people's opinions of me. This is when I was a really young kid. And I didn't figure this out until I was like in my 30s.
So you better start with yourself. Because if you're leading others and have nothing to give them, nothing to share with them, nothing to teach them, then I can promise you, you'll never be what you want to be as a leader. And I can promise you that after 40 years of personal growth, the secret of any success, if I've had any success at all, the secret of that success has been personal growth in my life.
When people are working with coworkers or on a team, where people collaborate and where you have honest conversations, it creates what we call psychological safety, which basically just means I feel safe working with you. I know that if I come to you with feedback, you'll listen. I know that if I tell you how your behavior is impacting me, you'll actually care. You can ask yourself, what else do I need every day? Just a little something. And if I kept this promise, I would feel like I was the kind of person that I could rely on. Do you need to start meditating every day? Do you need to drink a cup of water before you drink a cup of coffee? Do you need to pray every day? I don't know. But there's something that you need to do every day that would make you feel like you're keeping promises to yourself, you're showing up for yourself, you're validating the things that are important.
Reading Beyond Good and Evil, it's like just constantly being punched. I mean, part of me you're punched because you read part of it, you don't know what the hell he says, and so then you know you're stupid, and so that's a punch. And then now you stumble across something you understand, and it's like it's hard on you. He said he philosophized with a hammer, that he was breaking things apart, and there's no doubt about that. So now and then you run across something you understand, and then that breaks you apart because you understand it.
If you start with the presumption that there's a baseline of suffering in life, and that can be exaggerated as a consequence of human failing, as a consequence of malevolence and betrayal and self-betrayal and deceit and all those things that we do to each other and ourselves that we know that aren't good, that amplifies the suffering. That's sort of the baseline against which you have to work.
Had some of your hand before? I've been there, that's why I get on Jalen. I'm talking about Jalen like, Dad, why you on me so hard? Because I was in the hospital room when you was born. I'm laying hands on me, son. I was the first one when you came out, not your mama. I was the first one. I cut these rivers before. I am life without creation. That's why you so meaningful to me, son. I laid hands on you. I need to see you for a video.
I had to use all this negative shit that was making me weak and horrible as a person. I had to use this as the power that now you will never flip it on its head and say, hold up, this might be exactly what I need. The darkness is exactly what I need. It's how you look at your situation. And I was looking at it all fucked up.
Sometimes life is going to knock you down, but because you get knocked down don't mean that you are finished. No. You got some reasons. It might be your own sense of determination and the kind of life that you want to create.
There are people in their 30s and 40s who are still acting like adolescents. are still acting like babies as far as their attitude toward responsibility is concerned. But the large number of people who shirk responsibility can also provide opportunities for you if you are determined to be different. If you decide to be one of the few who embraces responsibility, you can lead, and you will deserve to lead. Churchill said, "Responsibility is the price of greatness." And in my opinion, it's really a rather small price to pay. It means, first of all, that you accept the consequences of your actions. Responsibility means you look to yourself as the source of everything that happens to you. It means that you assume command, regardless of the hardships you may have undergone early in life, or the dozens of people who may have failed to understand you. I'm saying that regardless of the presence of those negative influences in your life, the best thing you can do, the strongest thing, the most empowering thing, and ultimately the wisest thing, is to accept responsibility for your own destiny, plain and simple.
Some of my friends tried to be cheerful. They said, look, maybe some poor person who needed it found it. But that was not really helpful. I must admit at that time in my life, benevolence had not yet seized me. I was the person who needed to find $10, not lose 10. So that's where I was at that time in my life, behind on my dreams, and constantly wondering what I could possibly do to change my life for the better.
Let's say you go to a party and you tell a joke, and you think it's a pretty funny joke, and you tell your joke, and no one laughs. And in fact, they look at you like you're rather odd. And then the question is, well, how should you respond to that? Like, what exactly does that indicate about you? I mean, does it indicate a minor flaw in an otherwise stellar personality? Or does it mean that, like, you're a creep?
And my point is this: I want God to give you such a spiritual Greenland hormone spiritual hunger for God that all through this fast there's a stirring. I need to read my Bible. I need to pray. I need to worship. I need Jesus. I can't have another year like I had. I don't want to go through another year where I just kind of go through the motions.
Everybody was all discombobulated. We're underneath one roof. People are bored, frustrated, procrastinating, feeling anxious. And so what do you do if you can't sit still and you don't want to do what you're doing? You get up, and you can't drive to a coffee shop, and you can't go run an errand, and you can't go so you go interrupt somebody. So I'm not kidding when I tell you, put a sign on the door. The other thing that you should do that is super helpful, I know this sounds terrible, but it works like a charm. On Sunday night, have a family meeting.
I'm able to put myself at the finish line, even though I have no finish line, but at the finish line of an event, before you would start to say, how are you going to feel at the end of this? Visualizing this is my biggest tool of life. That's why I've been able to put myself in cold water, put myself in a 100-mile race millions of times before I've done it.
If you say you're having a breakthrough, who's never had a break? You fought, and then you had a breakthrough. Who's having this happen? A breakthrough is when there's something you struggle with for a long time. You say you're going to change, you say you're going to make it happen, you're going to lose that weight, you're going to grow your revenues, you're going to make that profit, you're going to make something happen, you're going to find that relationship, you're going to stop smoking, and you get right near the edge, and then you pull back. Who's done this multiple times before? But then, finally, you had a breakthrough, your breakthrough and actually changed. It's that.
You have to believe in you when it's a battle, when you're a hitter against a pitcher, or when you're a quarterback against a defense, or you're a defenseman in the NHL against their best offensive player, or you're a golfer and you have to make a 9-foot putt to win a tournament, right? You better have self-confidence. In fact, the separator, more often than not at the highest level in sports, is not they're a better shooter or a better putter or throw the ball a little bit faster, because everybody throws hard in the major leagues nowadays, it seems, right?
And seeing them go forward will be a source of such continued frustration that it is not your test that baffles you, but their success agonizingly displayed before you makes you despair of life, until David says in 37:1, fret not thyself over evildoers, how they prosper in their own way. They shall soon be cut off. He says, in other words, don't make a permanent decision over a temporary circumstance. He says, don't allow a moment of agony to make you draw a conclusion about life prematurely.
It all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. There's a subject we don't have time to get into tonight called better thinking habits. One of the major things Shoaff taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor.
And I'd have this big belief that people that go through any dysfunction in their family or abuse as a kid, I think our eyes are different. We just have these different eyes, man. And so I could connect with these guys. Mine wasn't as severe as theirs, but I knew what it was like to have that kind of anxiety and that kind of stress and that kind of pressure put on you as a little boy. And it changed my world because in that instant, I went from being this athlete who was ego, recognition, significance, going to get rich, it's all about me. All of a sudden in that instant, it became about serving people.
Step forward. Get after it.
No matter what you face, no matter how bad it is going to be, when there is a challenge, and by a challenge I mean anything in life, any challenge, anything that you're facing, the only way to overcome the challenges that you face is to start walking.
When the seed is sown into your heart, the devil comes immediately to try to steal the seed that was sown. And I think one of the ways that he does it is by very simply testing you on what you just heard. And we need to get it. Learn to do things. This is only a test. Can we practice saying, this is only a test?
We forget that you don't have to be famous to have the ability to change at least your own personal history, to change the direction we go in our life. We have the power to choose, even if you haven't before. You can finally say, no more, I won't put up with that, within myself or from anybody else. Here's what I'm going to do differently. That's where the breakthroughs really start to happen. Now the question is, why do some people stand their ground and make something change versus other people just kind of accept things?
Sometimes I see people succeeding who didn't pray nearly as hard, work nearly as long, and it seems like they seemingly have moments of victory in close proximity so I could see it. Not while I am having a similar experience, but while all hell has broken loose in my life and I am going through agony and tragedy, seemingly they are having victory and triumph. And if you are not careful, the very sight of their prosperity becomes your agony.
When you feel good about yourself, other people will feel good about you too. Get involved in some form of disciplined exercise. Keeping fit and feeling good has a positive effect on your attitude, not just your appearance. Physical fitness pays great dividends in terms of your energy level, your ability to live a long, healthy life, and your general sense of well-being. And well-being have a lot to do with how your life works out.
And if you have people around you who are not sensitive to who you are, and the people that can hurt you the most, ladies and gentlemen, are the people that you love. They're the ones that you're vulnerable to. They're the ones that can get you. See, if you don't draw the line with people, if you just let them run rampant in your life, and you let things happen to you that you don't feel good about, if you continue to allow it to happen, you won't feel good about yourself. Your image of yourself will erode. So you've got to draw the line.